Hello, hello. We're picking up in chapter 12 in the book The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Sorry, there's a piece of hair on my face. Anyways, um, so we're gonna get started. Chapter 12, maybe, if it works. Yeah, okay. Edward did not have much time to savor the light, for the dog suddenly appeared above him, dark and shaggy, blocking his view. Edward was pulled out of the garbage by his ears, dropped, and then picked up again, this time around the middle, and shaken back and forth with a great deal of ferocity. The little dog growled deep in its throat, and then dropped Edward again and looked him in the eye. Edward stared back. Hey, get out of here, you dog. It was Ernest, king of garbages, and therefore king of the world. The dog grabbed Edward by his pink dress and took off running. That's mine, that's mine. All garbages is mine. Ernest shouted. You come back here, but the little dog did not stop. The sun was shining, and Edward felt exhilarated, who, having known him before, would have thought that he could be so happy now, crusted over with garbage, wearing a dress, held in the slobbery mouth of a dog, and being chased by a madman. But he was happy. The dog ran and ran until they reached a railroad track. They crossed over the tracks, and there, underneath a scraggly tree and a circle of bushes, Edward was dropped in front of a large pair of feet. The dog began to bark. Edward looked up and saw the feet were attached to an enormous man with a long dark beard. What's this, Lucy? Said the man. He bent and picked up Edward. He held him firmly around the middle. Lucy, said the man, I know how much you enjoy rabbit pie, Lucy barked. Yes, yes, I know. Rabbit pie is a true delight, one of the pleasures of our existence. Lucy let out a hopeful yip. And what we have here, what you have so graciously delivered to me, is definitely a rabbit, but the best chef in the world would be hard pressed to make him into a pie, Lucy growled. This rabbit is made of china, girl. The man held Edward closer to him. They looked each other in the eye. You're made of china, aren't you, Malone? He gave Edward a playful shake. You are some child's toy. Am I right? And you have been separated, somehow, from the child who loves you. Edward felt again the sharp pain in his chest. He thought of Abilene. He saw the path leading up to the house on Egypt Street. He saw the dusk descending and Abilene running toward him. Yes, Abilene had loved him. So, Malone, said the man. He cleared his throat. You were lost. That is my guess. Lucy and I are lost, too. At the sound of her name, Lucy let out another yip. Perhaps, said the man, you would like to be lost with us. I have found it much more agreeable to be lost in the company of others. My name is Bull. Lucy, as you may have surmised, is my dog. Would you care to join us? Bull waited for a moment, staring at Edward, and then with his hand still firmly around Edward's waist, the man reached one enormous finger up and touched Edward's head from behind, and he pushed it so it looked as if Edward were nodding his head in agreement. Look, Lucy, he is saying yes, said Bull. Malone has agreed to travel with us. Isn't that swell? Lucy danced around Bull's feet, wagging her tail and barking, and so it was that Edward took the road with a hobo and his dog. I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 13 as well on this clip, so it'll be 12 and 13 altogether. Chapter 13. They traveled on foot, they traveled in empty rail cars, they were always on the move. But in truth, said Bull, we are going nowhere. That, my friend, is the irony of our constant movement. Edward rode in Bull's bedroll, slung over Bull's shoulders with only his head and his ears sticking out. Bull was always careful to position the rabbit so that he was not looking up or down, but instead, forever looking behind him, as the road that they had just traveled. At night, they slept on the ground under the stars. Sorry, guys. At night, they slept on the ground under the stars. Lucy, after her initial disappointment about Edward, began being unfit for consumption, took a liking to him, and slept curled up beside him. Sometimes she even rested her muzzle on his china stomach, and then the noises she made in her sleep, whimpering and growling and chuffing, resonated inside of Edward's body. To his surprise, he began to feel a deep tenderness for the dog. During the night, while Bull and Lucy slept, Edward, with his ever-open eyes, stared up at the constellations. He said their names, and then he said the names of the people who loved him. He started with Abilene, and then went to Nellie and Lawrence, and from there went to Bull and Lucy. And then he ended up again with Abilene, Nellie, Lawrence, Bull, Lucy, Abilene. See, Edward told Pellegrina, I am not like the princess. I know about love. There were times, too, when Bull and Lucy gathered around the campfire with other tramps. Bull was a good storyteller and an even better singer. "Sing for us, Bull," the man shouted. Bull sat with Lucy leaning against his leg, and Edward balanced on his right knee, and he sang from somewhere deep inside himself. Just as Edward could feel Lucy's whimpers and growls resonate through his body at night, he could also feel the deep, sad sound of Bull's songs move through him. Edward loved it when Bull sang. And when he was grateful he was grateful to Bull too for sensing that a dress was not the right kind of clothing for Edward. "Malone," said Bull one night, "it's not my desire to offend you or to comment negatively on your choice of garb, but I'm forced to tell you that you stick out like a sore thumb in that princess dress. And also, again, with no wish to offend you, the dress has seen better days." Nellie's beautiful dress fared well had not fared well at the dump or in its subsequent ramblings with Bull and Lucy. It was so torn and dirty and full of holes that it barely resembled a dress anymore. "I have a solution," said Bull, "and I hope it meets your approval." He took his own knit stocking cap and cut a big hole at the top of it and two holes around the side of it, and then he took off Edward's dress. "Look away, Lucy," he said to the dog. "Let's not embarrass Malone by staring at his nakedness." Bull slid the hat over Edward's head and pulled it down and poked his arms through the smaller holes. "There you go," he said to Edward. "Now you just need some pants." The pants Bull made himself by cutting up several red handkerchiefs and sewing them together so that they formed a makeshift covering for Edward's long legs. "Now you have the proper outlaw look," said Bull, standing back to admire his work. "Now you look like a rabbit on the run." That is the end of chapter 13 and chapter 12. So I'm going to save this and then I will upload it. Let me